I took care of my parents until they passed. Then my sister kicked me out of the house I grew up in. For years, I dedicated my life to taking care of my parents. While my sister moved away, started a family, and barely visited, I stayed. I was the one who made sure our parents had everything they needed. I was the one who sat by their bedside when they got sick. I never asked for anything in return. Then, after they passed away, I assumed I'd be able to stay in the house I grew up in. After all, I had lived there for years. But when the will was read, my sister got everything. "Mom and Dad wanted me to have the house," she said, barely looking at me. "I think it's best if you move out soon." I was stunned. I had sacrificed everything for our parents, and now I was being thrown out like I never mattered. She thought I'd just accept it and leave. She thought I had nowhere else to go. But if she thought she could erase me from my own home and walk away untouched, she was in for a rude awakening. Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. For years, I had dedicated my life to taking care of my parents. While my sister Lisa moved across the country, got married, and barely visited, I stayed. I put my career on hold, turned down opportunities, and spent every waking moment making sure Mom and Dad were okay. I was the one who took them to their doctor's appointments. I was the one who made sure they had their medication. I was the one who sat by their bedside when they were too weak to get up. Lisa? She sent the occasional check and a generic thinking of you text. That was it. I never resented it. I figured we all had our roles to play. She had her own life, and I had made my choice. I didn't expect gratitude. I just thought my parents saw me. Then, after they passed, everything changed. I was still grieving when Lisa called me, her voice calm, almost businesslike. "Hey, so we need to go over Mom and Dad's will." I wasn't thinking about inheritance. I didn't care about money. The only thing I assumed was that I'd be able to stay in the house, the home I had lived in my entire life. But when we met at the lawyer's office, I felt something was off. Lisa sat there with a confident smirk, like she already knew something I didn't. And when the lawyer read the will, it all made sense. "To our daughter Lisa, we leave the house and all assets." I blinked, feeling my stomach drop. "Wait, what?" I muttered. The lawyer glanced at me, uncomfortable. Lisa turned to me with a shrug. "Mom and Dad wanted me to have the house." I stared at her, stunned. I lived there for years. I took care of them. Why wouldn't they leave it to both of us?" Lisa sighed, like I was being dramatic. "They trusted me to handle things, and honestly, I think it's best if you start looking for a new place." My breath caught in my throat. "You're kicking me out?" She didn't even hesitate. "I mean, yeah, it's my house now." I clenched my fists. I had given up everything for my parents. I had put my life on hold, sacrificed years to take care of them, and now I was being thrown out like I never mattered. Lisa thought I'd just accept it and leave. She thought I had nowhere else to go. But if she thought she could erase me from my own home and walk away untouched, she was in for a rude awakening. I walked out of that lawyer's office in a daze. I had given up everything for my parents, and in the end, I was discarded like an afterthought. Lisa, on the other hand, she was glowing. As we stepped outside, she turned to me with that same smug expression she always had when she thought she was getting her way. "Look, don't take this personally," she said, as if kicking me out of my own home wasn't personal. "Mom and Dad just wanted someone responsible to handle everything. You know, someone who actually has a stable life." I felt my hands clench into fists. "A stable life?" I repeated, my voice dangerously low. "I put my life on hold for them. I took care of them while you were off living yours. But sure, Lisa, you're the responsible one." She rolled her eyes. "Don't be so dramatic. I know this is a shock, but you'll figure something out. It's not like you don't have options." "What options, Lisa?" I snapped. "I lived there for years. I've spent all my time taking care of them. What do you expect me to do?" She shrugged. "I don't know. Get a roommate? Find an apartment? Not my problem." I had to bite my tongue to keep from exploding right then and there. Lisa thought this was over. She thought I'd just pack up my things, quietly walk away, and let her have everything. But what she didn't know? I wasn't going anywhere. That house? It wasn't just hers. It was mine too. And if she thought she could just erase me from it without a fight, she was about to find out just how wrong she was. Lisa expected me to just accept my fate and walk away. But she had underestimated one thing. I wasn't about to roll over and let her erase me from my own home. The moment I got back to the house, I started digging. I went through every old document, every financial record, every single piece of paperwork I had ever handled while taking care of our parents. I wanted to know exactly what I was dealing with, exactly what leverage I had. And then, I found it. Lisa may have legally inherited the house, but guess what? The house wasn't fully paid off. That's right. There was a mortgage, one that I had been helping cover for years. While Lisa was off living her best life, I had been the one making sure the bills were paid, that the house stayed in good shape, that our parents didn't have to worry about finances. And now, all of that was about to become her problem. The best part? Lisa didn't have a clue. She had assumed the house was some free and clear inheritance, that she could just waltz in, kick me out, and live comfortably without lifting a finger. But the second she took ownership, all that responsibility became hers. I sat back, smirking to myself. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to wait. Sure enough, it didn't take long before Lisa started panicking. It started with frantic texts. "Hey, do you know anything about these mortgage payments?" I ignored them. Then came the calls. "Why the hell didn't anyone tell me there was still a mortgage on this place?" Oh, Lisa, welcome to reality. Finally, after days of silence from me, she showed up at the house. I opened the door, crossing my arms as I leaned against the frame. "Something wrong?" She was furious. "Why didn't you tell me about the mortgage?" she snapped, shoving a stack of bank statements in my face. I raised an eyebrow. "I thought you were the responsible one. Shouldn't you have checked that before you took the house?" Her face turned red. "I can't afford this," she hissed. I smirked. "Guess you should have thought of that before you kicked out the only person who knew how to manage the finances." Lisa's eyes darted around, her frustration turning into desperation. "Okay, fine. Maybe we can figure something out. Maybe you can stay here and help out?" I laughed out loud. "You want me to stay and help after you told me to leave?" She swallowed hard, shifting her weight nervously. "I mean, I wasn't trying to be cruel. I just thought it would be easier if I handled things." "Easier for you," I corrected. Her silence told me everything. Lisa thought she could take the easy way out, that she could push me aside and reap the benefits of my sacrifice. But now, she was drowning. And I wasn't about to throw her a life raft. Lisa stood there, shifting nervously, waiting for me to bail her out. But I wasn't about to make this easy for her. For years, she had treated me like an afterthought, like my sacrifices meant nothing, like I was just some inconvenience standing in the way of what she thought she deserved. And now, she was realizing just how wrong she was. I leaned against the doorframe, crossing my arms. "So, let me get this straight. You kicked me out, took the house, and now you want my help paying for it?" Lisa swallowed hard. "I mean, it's still Mom and Dad's house. We can figure something out, right?" I scoffed. "Now it's Mom and Dad's house? I thought it was yours. You made that pretty clear at the lawyer's office." Her face twisted in frustration. "Come on, don't be like that. You know I can't handle all these expenses on my own. I didn't know there was still a mortgage." "And whose fault is that?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. She clenched her jaw. She had no answer. The silence stretched between us, and I could see the desperation growing in her eyes. She had spent years pretending she was the responsible one, the one who had it all together. But now she was about to lose everything. "You have two options," I said finally, my voice calm but firm. "Sell the house and pay off what you owe, or figure out how to handle it on your own. Either way, I'm not saving you." Lisa's mouth fell open. "You're seriously going to let me struggle?" I let out a humorless laugh. "Oh, you mean like how you threw me out with no warning? Like how you didn't care where I'd end up? Yeah, Lisa, I think I'll let you struggle." She stared at me, stunned. For the first time in her life, she wasn't in control. "You're unbelievable," she muttered. "I was just trying to do what Mom and Dad wanted." I shook my head. "No, Lisa, you were trying to do what was best for you, and now You get to deal with the consequences." She looked like she wanted to argue, like she wanted to say something to turn this around in her favor, but she had nothing. Finally, she let out a sharp breath and stormed off, muttering under her breath. I didn't stop her, because now she was the one who had to figure things out. And I had already won. Lisa left that day, but I knew she wasn't done. People like her don't just walk away quietly. They scramble, they plot, they try to find a way to make someone else fix their mess. And sure enough, the begging started soon after. At first, it was subtle, a few texts acting like nothing had happened. "Hey, just checking in. Hope you're doing okay." I ignored them. Then came the casual invitations. "Let's grab lunch soon. We should talk." I knew exactly what she wanted to talk about. And I wasn't interested. Then, when I didn't respond, she went full guilt trip. "You're really going to let me struggle after everything we've been through? Everything we've been through? Like she hadn't been the one to kick me out of my own home? Like she hadn't treated me like I was disposable?" I didn't reply. And then, she cracked. One night, I got a call. Late. Way too late for it to be anything good. I let it go to voicemail. When I finally checked the message, her voice was shaking. "I messed up, okay? I thought I could handle it, but I can't. The mortgage, the maintenance, it's too much. The house is falling apart, and I don't have the money to fix it. I don't know what to do." I listened, waiting for the inevitable. And there it was. "I need your help." I let out a long breath, staring at my phone. After everything, after she had thrown me out without a second thought, after she had claimed she was the only responsible one, after she had made sure I got nothing. Now she was begging me to save her. It would have been so easy to step in, to take control, to fix the mess like I had always done. But this time, she was on her own. I deleted the voicemail without responding, because Lisa had spent her entire life making sure I had nothing. Now, she had nothing. And I had peace. Days passed after Lisa's voicemail, and I waited. Waited for her to call again, for her to try another angle, for her to pull some last desperate stunt. But, for the first time in her life, she stayed silent. I could tell she was struggling. Word had gotten around through family that the house was eating her alive. The mortgage payments were piling up, and the repairs were draining her bank account. She had thought she was inheriting a prize, but what she really got? A financial black hole. And me? I was doing just fine. One afternoon, I was out running errands when I stopped by a coffee shop near my old neighborhood. As I stood in line, I heard a familiar voice. I don't know what to do, honestly. It's like I'm drowning. I turned my head just slightly and saw Lisa sitting at a table with one of our cousins, looking defeated. "I thought the house would be a blessing," she continued, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. "But it's a nightmare. The taxes are insane. The plumbing is a disaster. And She let out a humorless laugh. "I thought I was doing the right thing, taking over, making sure everything was handled. But now I don't even know if I can keep it." Our cousin gave her a sympathetic nod. "Why don't you ask your brother to help?" Lisa's face twisted in frustration. "He won't even answer my calls. He doesn't care." I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. I didn't care? Where was this concern for family when she was kicking me out with no warning? Where was her need for teamwork when she made sure I got nothing? She had made her choice, and now she was living with it. I walked out of the shop without saying a word. Lisa thought she had won. She thought she was in control. But the truth? She had set herself up for failure. And me? I was finally free. Lisa was finally learning the hard way that inheriting a house wasn't the dream she thought it would be. The bills were stacking up, the house was falling apart, and no one was there to bail her out. And me? I wasn't losing a second of sleep over it. I had spent years putting my life on hold to take care of our parents. I was the one who made sacrifices. I was the one who stayed up nights making sure they were comfortable. I was the one who handled the paperwork, the finances, the endless responsibilities. Lisa? She hadn't lifted a damn finger, and now she was drowning. I kept hearing whispers from family members. Lisa's struggling with the house. She might have to sell it. I don't think she thought this through. No one felt bad for her, not after the way she had treated me. And then, she reached out again. This time, it wasn't a call or a smug demand. It was a text message. "Hey, I know I messed up. I should have handled things differently. Can we talk? I stared at my phone, debating whether or not to respond. She had finally admitted it. She had messed up. She was realizing that her selfishness had cost her everything. But did that mean I had to give her another chance? I thought about all the times I had tried to talk to her, tried to explain that I deserved something too. And how had she responded? It's my house now. You need to move out. Mom and Dad trusted me to handle things. Now, she was the one asking for help. And I wasn't in the mood to give it. I put my phone down without replying. Because some mistakes, you just have to live with. Days passed, and I didn't reply to Lisa's text. I knew exactly why she wanted to talk. She wasn't reaching out because she suddenly cared about making things right. She was reaching out because she needed me. And for once, I didn't need her. I went about my life, focusing on the things I had put off for too long. My career, my friendships, my own happiness. Without the weight of my family's expectations crushing me, I felt lighter. For the first time in years, I wasn't the one cleaning up someone else's mess. But Lisa, she was crumbling. Through the family grapevine, I heard that she was desperately trying to sell the house. Turns out the financial strain was more than she could handle. The taxes were overdue, the repairs were bleeding her dry, and she couldn't keep up with the mortgage. She thought she could just walk in and take everything without consequence. She thought owning the house meant winning. But what she had actually inherited, a financial disaster. And the best part, no one wanted to buy it. The house was too old, too damaged, too expensive to fix. Buyers walked away as soon as they realized how much work it needed. What Lisa had assumed was a golden ticket. It was an anchor dragging her down. Then, one evening, as I was leaving work, I saw her name pop up on my phone again. I sighed, debating whether to ignore it, but curiosity won. "What do you want, Lisa?" I answered, my tone neutral. She hesitated before speaking. She sounded tired, defeated. "I can't keep the house," I smirked, no kidding. "So sell it," I said simply. She exhaled sharply. "I'm trying, but no one wants it." I stayed silent, waiting for what I knew was coming next. "I was thinking, maybe you'd want to buy it?" I almost laughed. This house, the same house she had stolen from me, the same house she had kicked me out of, now she wanted to sell it to me? "Why would I do that?" I asked, genuinely amused. Lisa swallowed hard. "Because you're the only one who actually knows how to take care of it." I let her words sink in. For the first time, she was admitting the truth. She had never been the responsible one. That had always been me. I leaned against my car, pretending to think it over. "How much are you asking?" I finally said. She hesitated. "Market value." I chuckled. "Lisa, I know exactly what that house is worth, and I know exactly how much of a mess it is. If you want me to take it off your hands, my offer is half of what you're asking." "Half?" she choked. "That's insane." "Then keep it," I said smoothly. "Keep paying the taxes, keep dealing with the repairs, keep letting it drain whatever money you have left. Or you take my offer and walk away." Silence. Then, in a small, broken voice, she whispered, "Fine." And just like that, I got back what was rightfully mine. The paperwork took a couple of weeks to finalize, but in the end, I got the house back for half of what Lisa had originally wanted. And the best part, she had no choice but to take it. I could see it in her eyes when we met at the lawyer's office for the final signing. She wasn't happy about it, but she knew she had lost. The arrogance, the superiority, it was gone. I walked in with calm confidence. She walked in looking defeated. She didn't try to fight me on the price, didn't try to bargain. She knew she had no leverage. The moment the final signature was on the papers, I leaned back in my chair, letting it all sink in. "So," I said, keeping my tone even, "where are you going now?" Lisa swallowed hard. I don't know." She looked small, like she had never actually thought this far ahead. "You spent so much time kicking me out," I said, tilting my head. "But you never thought about what would happen if you had to leave, huh?" Her jaw clenched, but she said nothing. And for the first time, I didn't feel angry anymore, because Lisa had done this to herself. She had inherited a house thinking it was a prize. She had treated it like a trophy, like something she had won just because our parents had written her name in their will. But what she had actually inherited? A responsibility she couldn't handle. And me? I had spent years thinking that I was the one who had lost, that I had been robbed. But now, I had my home back, I had my future, and Lisa, she had nothing. She stood up, grabbing her bag, her expression unreadable. "I guess this is it, huh?" she muttered. I shrugged. "Guess so." She hesitated, like she wanted to say something else. Maybe she was waiting for me to offer help, to throw her some kind of lifeline. But I wasn't going to. She had made her choices. Now, she had to live with them. Lisa turned and walked away. And this time, I didn't look back. Lisa walked out of that lawyer's office with nothing. No house, no backup plan, no control. And me? I had everything. Not just the house, but my peace, my dignity, my freedom. For so long, I had thought I was the one who had lost, that I had been wronged, that I had been robbed of what should have been mine. But now, Lisa was the one walking away empty-handed. She had spent years thinking she was above me, that she was the responsible one, the one who deserved to inherit everything. But when the weight of the house came crashing down on her, she crumbled, and in the end, she had to come crawling back to the very person she had thrown away. But the most satisfying part, I didn't even have to do anything. She destroyed herself. I didn't have to plot, didn't have to scheme, didn't have to go out of my way to ruin her. She did it all on her own. And now, she was left with nothing but regret. I took my time settling back into the house. It wasn't easy. The damage she had let pile up was worse than I had expected. The plumbing was still a mess. The foundation needed repairs, and there were overdue taxes I had to clear up. But you know what? I didn't care. Every repair, every fix, every improvement I made, it felt like taking back a piece of what was stolen from me. And for the first time in years, I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry. I was just free. Lisa never reached out again. I didn't ask about her, and no one in the family ever mentioned where she ended up. Maybe she moved to another city. Maybe she found a way to start over. Or maybe she was still trying to figure out how she had lost everything. But me, I wasn't looking back. Because in the end, she had made her choices. And now, she had to live with them. Greed can make people blind. Lisa thought inheriting the house meant she had won. But she never understood what it actually meant to take care of something. In the end, she was left with nothing. Now, let me ask you, have you ever dealt with a family betrayal like this? How did you handle it? Drop your stories in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And if you made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.